Hi everyone, this is Andrew at the Wyoming Dinosaur Center, and this is Fossil Friday. To start out with, I want to give you a little insight into what this whole process is like. I love doing Fossil Fridays and I work really hard on them, but sometimes it can be really hard to come up with a concept. I might spend a whole week thinking of something to do. Other times I hear about something and I know immediately what I want to do. And that brings us to the subject of today as part of a new series we're going to be introducing to Fossil Friday called Ancient Owwies. See, one of the coolest things that we get to study here are pathologies, evidence of injuries and diseases on dinosaur bones. Now, we already had a good example of that with the Maiasaur radius from back about this time last year, and that was a really cool one. This one, however, is even cooler because it's a much more interesting story in certain ways, but it's also one that comes from right here in Thermopolis, and it has to do with the specimen that I've laid out in front of me right now. That is the CB Allosaurus. Now, we've mentioned this one for a little bit before. It's a 73% complete skeleton that was found just 10 minutes away from where I'm standing right now. So all the bones that you see in blue are bones that we found at this individual. And as you can see, 73% is pretty good. We've got a good portion of the hips, arms, parts of the head, which is always the best part, and a good portion of the back and the tail. But what we're talking about today are the leg bones. So in front of me right now, I have an assortment of tibias and fibulas, bones of the lower legs. So this right here is what an Allosaurus tibia looks like. It's a pretty thick, robust bone. An Allosaurus was a very durable animal. But what's more interesting, in this case at least, is the fibula. So I have here part of an Allosaurus fibula from the CB Allosaur. And as you can see, this is a pretty good length for a fibula. The whole bone is about 2.5 to 3 feet long. It's a good sized bone from a good sized animal. So these dinosaurs had two fibulas, just like we do, one on either leg. So we found both of the fibulas. But again, this is just part of the fibula from one leg. This is the entire fibula from the other leg. There's a bit of a discrepancy here, and that's where this gets really interesting. So this fibula was a bit of a puzzle. Our first guess was that this was a result of a taphonomy. The bone broke during fossilization, and the other end of the fibula ended up somewhere we don't know where, until we realized, and I'll get this closer so you can see. So this is the interior of the bone right here, right where my finger is, and you can see this line, this little growth of bone right down the middle where I just had my finger. This is bone growth. If this were a taphonomic break, it would just be a clear cut. You would see the outside, which is the bone, and the inside, which was hollow. All theropod bones are hollow, just like bird bones, dinosaur-bird connection. But this has growth in it. So what does this tell us? This tells us a remarkable story. At some point during this Allosaurus' life, it got into some kind of altercation or something happened, we're not entirely sure what, but the fibula completely sheared off. And that's a pretty extreme injury for an animal to withstand, something that you would think would end its life. I mean, you're talking not just about breaking a bone, which is already really serious, you're talking about breaking a bone and that bone being completely removed. It's just gone. Well, what we have with this is a really good, compelling reason that the animals survive, because we not only have the bone growth on the fibula itself, again, covering that interior section, but we also were fortunate enough to find the associated tibia with that bone. I'm going to hold that up for you. So this is the top of the tibia. The femur would be stretching out where my hand is motioning right now, and if you look closely at this surface, there's all this gross, gunky bone. That's a result of the tibia attempting to heal itself. And it did that job so well that when I put this tibia and this fibula together, they match perfectly. It's like it was meant to be because it was. So this was the tibia attempting to compensate for whatever happened to the fibula bone. They grew together so this animal could survive whatever happened to it. Now, unfortunately, we don't really have a good idea of what could have caused this injury. Might have been a fight with another Allosaurus or another large predator. Could have been the result of a failed attack. We're not sure. But the important thing about this isn't what caused it, but the fact that the animal very clearly survived this injury. See, a lot of times in society, predators get kind of a bad rep. They're scary, they're mean, they attack things, but they live really rough lives and they endure a lot for a very important reason. If meat eaters didn't keep plant eater populations in check, then the whole environment would become destabilized. Things like wolves and bears in Yellowstone help keep animal populations controlled. That's why in some places, where some of you might be watching, deer in urban areas are real problems because there aren't any natural predators to control the population. So predators, yeah, they can be scary, they can be intimidating, and they kill other animals, but they do it for a very good reason, and they live really rough lives. And this right here, this fibula, this tibia, this Allosaurus, is a really good example of an animal that endured a lot and lived to tell the tale. So, a really remarkable specimen. Now, you'll probably see more of the CB Allosaurus in the future, and you'll definitely see a lot more ancient Owwies, because it's really just a fascinating topic. So, hope you enjoyed this Fossil Friday. Hope you'll like the video. Hope you'll share it. Give us more insight, more information. Just tell us what you think of it. In the meantime, this is Andrew at the Wyoming Dinosaur Center, keeping your Friday fossiliferous.